Introducing the new party. We live stream Monday through Thursday 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
The death penalty for Luigi Mangione in the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Mangione is being charged with federal crimes in connection to Thompson's killing just outside of a hotel here in Midtown Manhattan back in December. He also faces state criminal charges.
Party. Why I like the new party? Number one, it's a group of people that's on a panel. We all have differences, but we all basically still come together at the end of the day. The new party for me is about unity. The new party for me is about educating people to the truth, letting people know what's been going on in our country. With that being said, shout out to the new party, man. We're going to keep it going with y'all.
Welcome to the new party. I'm Nora Christine.
I'm Gray Mars.
I'm Skeptic.
Jerem.
Enzo Nuccio.
And today on the new party, we will be discussing a number of topics tonight. As you guys may or may not have seen, Cory Booker is still filibustering in the Congress as we speak. Let's see if he'll be going at the end of the call. I'm curious if he'll still be going. But the first topic of the night is about Luigi Mangione. Enzo, I know in our private talks, you said you're passionate about it. Can you let everybody know about who he is and what your thoughts are?
So, Mr. Luigi, come on, I got to stick up for him. He's one of my Italian brothers. So, if anything, we didn't see nothing. He did nothing. I know nothing. He was accused of murdering Brian Thompson, I forgot his last name correctly, the CEO of United Healthcare, back in December of 24. Honestly, like I said before to you in our private talks, I do not think he did it. It's just a little weird on how it all happened, how we only get like a little bit of a picture of his, just pretty much his jawbone, and they connected to this guy who in my eyes looks nothing like the dude we seen the picture of. So I don't know. I'm going the conspiracy theory route. He's just the fall guy of who really did it, who was just trying to make a statement against the healthcare industry.
Jay, what's your thoughts on the Luigi? Well, first of all, we're going to play the next clip as well, but isn't it crazy, Jay, that they're going after a death penalty for one billionaire when there's all sorts of stories that we hear, and I'm going to play it later, where they're unaliving tons of people for hate crimes and all sorts of things, and they don't get the death penalty. What's your thoughts on the direction of this administration and the justice system?
Well, I think it's just this administration. I just think that the trend of the American people is we don't care about billionaires. I mean, when that submarine thing happened, the submarine was full of billionaires. There was no sympathy. There was the opposite. People were making jokes about it immediately. And I think basically just the people, I hate to like say them or they, but just the people that hold a lot of power in this country are seeing a trend that they're maybe even kind of scared that we literally just don't care about them because we realize that this entire time they've never cared about us. So I just think that they're trying to set an example that, especially in New York, a state that I think hasn't stay on the death penalty. So I just think the fact that they're willing to just so immediately go straight for the death penalty, they're definitely trying to set an example that, you know, kind of just know your place and don't act out. But that class is untouchable. You know.
Is that what's going on?
Absolutely. I think they are absolutely sending a message. I mean, if we really get down to like the brass tacks, United Healthcare, who he was obviously the CEO representing that company, they only approved less than 30% of the claims. So we can directly tie this company and him as the face, as the CEO, to tens of thousands of deaths from lack of healthcare. So, I mean, at this point in time, I don't know if it's a conspiracy. I don't know. I'm going to come out and say it. I'm glad he's unalived. I think more of things need to happen because we need to scare the status quo, because these people will continuously try to take advantage of us. And at the end of the day, United Healthcare and this man had blood on his hands regardless, because if he was an upstanding citizen, he would not have worked for United Healthcare, and he would not have been complicit to tens of thousands of Americans being unalived through lack of healthcare that they're actually paying for through their insurance. So I am with Jay. I mean, I'm one of those people that laughed. When they were in the ocean in the submarine with a PS2 controller, I laughed at that, and I'm laughing now.
I think it was the Xbox controller, let's be fair.
I was laughing then. I'm still laughing now. I have zero sympathy for him or his family at all whatsoever.
Also, I'm pretty sure that in the United States is only like Western or like industrial nation on earth where the doctor can say you need this, and somebody with an admin degree can go like, nah, you don't.
Right. And, these people are spending tens of thousands of dollars in a year. If not, sometimes people don't get sick and they've had insurance for 20 years. Imagine giving United Healthcare 6 figures over the course of like 20 years for the time you have a problem. They're like, nope, sorry, too bad for you, bud.
So without saying what I do, I've been in rooms where these decisions are made, and to believe it or not, it's a lot that goes into it. It is unfortunate sometimes when decisions have to be made, but it's what your policy allows. Like, and I'm not trying to be harsh, but like there are rules and regulations. And like I had a recent issue with my house, and they didn't cover everything, and I'm just like, well, that is what it is. I have that endorsement or whatever you call it, so I can't. It is what it. I mean, that's my thoughts on it. I don't think anyone should be killed because even though he's the CEO, he's still the front man. But I digress. Skeptic, what's your thoughts? Is his $1 billionaire body self worth more than other people getting unalived every day in America?
I would say no. I think all lives are, equally valuable. However, I do agree that they're going to make an example out of him because, we have to set a precedent that we are not going to allow Americans to be killing CEOs. So I don't necessarily think that billionaires are the boogeyman. I know a lot of, wealthy people that are good people, and they do, good things for their community, and they, help donate thousands of dollars to help communities. So I don't necessarily think that they're evil per se, but I do think that we have created a disparity amongst classes where the wealthiest have become very much wealthier than the lower income people in America, which I think is more of an economic issue than I would say that makes billionaires evil, So.
Gray, what's your thoughts? Are you hoping to be a billionaire one day and they get something ever happens, they throw the book at that person?
I'm basically gonna say piggyback off what Skeptic said. I mean, like, yeah, you can go delete somebody, but you do have to think about the victim's family. Like, they're gonna be there if he is executed, standing there asking him in the courtroom if he really did it. I don't know if he did it or not, so we should let him go through due process, whether he's innocent or whether he's guilty. And like, people, just because they have money, we shouldn't necessarily want to unalive them. I mean, President Trump almost got deleted. So, I mean, like, I think we should just let the courts work the way the system should work.
Wow. It's interesting. We've had an interesting week. This comes out that they're seeking the death penalty. But just a few days ago, it also came out that the killer of the El Paso Walmart shooting is getting nothing. Well, I don't want to say nothing, but he's definitely not getting the death penalty. Let's watch the plea deal.
Fox Amir host Christina Evans. Again, as we promised before that 2-minute break that we took, we're going to be keeping it there in Texas, talking about another major headline. You might remember this story. It happened back in 2019, devastating, when the gunman, he killed 23 people in a racist attack at a Texas Walmart. We do know that, according to the Associated Press, he attacked Hispanic shoppers there at a Walmart near the U.S.-Mexico border back in 2019. And new information is coming out about his case. It has now been put on the table, a plea deal underneath this offer that was announced today. He would avoid the death penalty under the law. This is abruptly ending years of efforts by prosecutors to see that he face execution by lethal injection. El Paso County District Attorney James Montoya said during a news conference that this decision there in the prosecution of this gunman who drove across the state for one of the deadliest mass shootings in U.S. history and posted racist messages before opening fire was driven by a majority of victims' relatives who wanted to see this case go behind him. To talk more about this update and where the case is now heading, I want to bring into the conversation Texas-based attorney Trey Gober. Trey, thanks so much for being with us here on Live Now from Fox. Again, this is a story that rocked so many people's world when it happened back in 2019, and we've been continuing to follow it as we're getting these updates. What were first your thoughts on that plea deal being put on the table? Is this customary in a case that involves the murder and a mass shooting of so many people, again, also leaving 22 others injured as well?
Well, I think my thoughts are the same as the thoughts of many of us. Disappointment. A lot of us wanted to see the ultimate penalty for the ultimate crime. I can't think of many crimes much worse than this. And certainly, if the death penalty is ever appropriate, it should be inappropriate in a case like this. That's certainly the thoughts that first hit me. But at the same time, when you look at this district attorney's reasoning behind it and the fact that the district attorney is taking into consideration the wishes of the families to get this put behind them so that they can have closure, absolutely, it's something we can support. At the end of the day, the law requires and allows for prosecutorial discretion to take into account a variety of considerations, and certainly consideration and deference to the wishes of the majority of the victims' families should be.
So, Skeptic, what's your thoughts on that story and the fact that they're going to do a plea deal for this guy versus with Luigi, they're not even trying to like work anything out. They're just saying death penalty without even a trial or anything.
So I want to say that from what I gather, the facts that he was just saying a while ago, maybe the families didn't want to go through the scrutiny of going through a trial, right? Which would then, put the decision in the hands of the family. So I guess that does play a role as far as what they're going to determine for that, person who did the shooting. So I guess it makes a little bit more sense. Like I was finding it just senseless, like how does this happen in our justice system? So that makes a little bit more sense, but still I do think that he should have been held to, higher consequences. So that's crazy. The fact that he unalived so many people and he's getting off with this is crazy to me. But, I do believe there is a lot of inequality in our government. So, I believe it.
Enzo, what's your thoughts?
So when it comes to mass unalivings, school unalivings, anything like that, I don't think there even should be a trial. I think it literally should just be straight up execution for anybody like that. I have no doubt you want to set an example in the example of Luigi. You should absolutely do it for that, because I'm not gonna sit here and say maybe by doing that it will stop mass unalivings on the scale that what they are, but it absolutely will show zero tolerance for it, and I'm all for that, because when it comes down to anything like that, I think eye for an eye. So they should be lined up by firing squad, and that's how they should be executed. Not even lethal injection. It's too weak.
Too what's the word? Like kind.
Yeah, it's too kind for somebody like that.
Too kind. Gray, what's your thoughts? Do you think that this is a double standard, or do you agree with Skeptic that the families didn't want that?
Well, with the rule of law, I'm not a lawyer, but there could be mitigating circumstances. This guy could have mental health issues. He could have been watching Fox News every day, so it made his brain say, "I need to go do this." He
Fox
could
News,
have
huh?
had. We don't know his defense. He could have been
That is
like,
probably what happened to him.
whatever happened to him made him. His parents were like this. It might be something that made it where they said, "Well, it's not really his fault." So, like, I know the court system isn't perfect, but that's why you can have so many appeals and so many experts. But I would have to like know what his defense was to say like what should have really happened.
Mm. How do you defend that? Mia, how would you defend that?
I personally couldn't defend it because I think he deserves the death penalty. I think this is a massive miscarriage of justice for
Me
the
too.
50 some odd people. Because, I mean, he obviously unalived the 23, plus they said 22 plus were also injured. So we're talking about
Mhm.
50 people. Like, that's a massive scale. I mean, that's insane. And he just is going to be what he's going to live off our tax dollars down in, I don't live in Texas, not my tax dollars, but he's going to live off Texans tax dollars
If
now.
he's a federal president, he would be.
No, he's in federal. It's our tax dollar. You got it right. It's
I don't
Fed.
even want that.
Fed. It's a Fed crime.
No, he's
Yeah.
going to live off of our tax
Well,
dollars after
yeah.
doing that. No. And you know what? I take solace in the fact that he's not going to make it in prison unless he's in solitary confinement. So that's all I get.
The Mexican gangs are going to get to him.
That's all I
They're
gotta
going to hear how he unalived some Mexican people, and who knows, maybe somebody on the outside going to know somebody who knows somebody. Throw them $100 on their commissary, and they'll take care of it. Sorry,
Absolutely.
that's what happened to Dahmer.
Yeah, those COs are absolutely going to drop breadcrumbs to the fellow inmates for sure. Like, I know I know a bunch of COs in my life, and they be like, they be vengeful. Just to screw people over. So, I mean, it's whatever. Either way, he's not going to be living very long once he makes it. So, it is what it is.
Jay, is he going to be living very long? What's your thoughts?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, if he goes to a place like Florence in Colorado, he'll never interact with another human being for the rest of his life. But as far as what Gray said, it's not as black and white as he was watching Fox News, but obviously he was radicalized to target this specific group, and that does take time to build up to that. They say, when a serial unaliver unalives their first victim, it takes years, and the second one takes months, and the last one takes days. So you have to build up to be radicalized to that extreme to willing to do that. And I think it's not a soft stance on mass unalivings. I think they're taking a soft stance on radicalization.
True.
Is what the bigger issue is.
I think that's fair.
And just especially in a place like, and my question is too, what did he plead down to? Because it's not like he can plead down to like manslaughter. So what was the plea? Just it's not he can plead. What was he gonna do? Plead not guilty and just not like what was the deal? Just plead guilty. And then you won't be
just murder. Yeah. Right. So to avoid a speedy trial or a trial period, they're just going to sentence him. So he's pleading. So I guess whatever they negotiate, they said, hey, look, you want us to avoid a trial to defend our client, then take the death penalty off, which is probably the conversation that was done.
Okay.
Well, they said what Skeptic was saying. They said the families didn't want to go through a trial. So that's
my question is, what would the trial be? It's not like he was going to be found not guilty.
Well, they show the body. Have you ever been a juror before?
My question is, would the trial just have gone? The trial obviously wouldn't have been guilty, not guilty. It would have been penalty or no penalty.
No, it would have been guilty, not guilty, because he has a right as a United States citizen to defend himself. So they would have had to show those pictures of those bodies, body cam footage, video, and I don't blame those families. I wouldn't want that to be seen. And a trial is very emotional. It's a lot that goes into it. I was a juror in January a year ago, and it's a lot that goes into it. And you see everything. You see all the gruesome pictures.
Yeah,
I get that, but if he's like basically dead to rights, what would
he could have pled insanity? He could have pled.
Okay, that's what makes sense. That's what I'm asking. Okay.
Yeah, so the prosecution, 90% of cases don't go to trial.
Yeah.
And the feds have a 99% conviction rate. So if you go to trial against the feds, it's a 99% chance you're going to the maximum sentence. So most people plead out in most cases.
Yeah.
True. Wow. Well, that was a hard story to begin with, but we're going to move on to something a little more lighthearted and funny.
Yeah.
Everybody's favorite Democrat, Jasmine Crockett, honey.
Welcome.
So we're going to break down what she said because she put her foot in her mouth again, as always. So we'll start with her. You know, I'm going to give her a chance to defend herself. I have some clips of Byron Donalds as well. We're going to remind everyone. So this clip she was on the Breakfast Club. Let's hear what she had to say about Byron Donalds this week.
To put people into office, and that even means some of our skinfolk who definitely are not our kinfolk, such as Byron Donalds, who are going to continue to say that, like, I mean, the fact that you sitting around talking about life was better under Jim Crow, like, is this because you don't understand history, or literally it's because you married a white woman and so you think that whitewashed you? I'm not really sure, like, what it is.
Well,
but
you
I
couldn't
need
even be married to a white woman under Jim
correct,
Crow.
correct, and it took Joy to call him out. So I'm like, bruh, like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you saying? Like, he just out here, you know, I feel like they give him his talking points and he's like, yes, massa, I got it.
And my name is Jasmine Crockett, and I'm about to be as ghetto as possible. So, all right, Jay, what do you think about what she said? Because she like the Congress Ghetto Hoe of the Year. So I'm gonna let you go first.
Okay. You know, I just think that I feel like she's catching a little extra heat because she is indeed female and black. I think if she was not, I don't think this would be that big of a deal, because when you look at what's happened in the past, let's just say since 2016, all the class and all of the rules from how you should carry yourself as a politician are out the window. It's gone.
True.
And I don't know why we still talk about it. You know, the moment, basically, I don't want to say it started with Trump, but he definitely just took the gloves off, and then you go, from now, it's over, guys. I don't know why we still act like they're supposed to carry or conduct themselves in a specific way, because it's gone. It's been classless this entire time. And what she's saying is not even that bad. Yeah, I mean,
No, yeah.
I definitely don't think so. So I think she's just catching most heat because she's black and a woman, and that's like the perfect storm in politics. That's all you need to be to get scrutinized. You need to be one of those two things, and if you're both, you're going to catch heat. No matter, doesn't matter what you say.
The reason why people are offended, let me give backstory as a black person. They're offended because how dare she talk about Byron Donalds being married to a white woman when most of the Democratic people are married to white partners? Kamala Harris, Ketanji Brown, the one that got elected in, come on, Mia, help me, name out some. A lot of them are married to, and I don't care who you marry. AOC, they're all
married to white men.
biracial, right? So why call that out? That's the hypocrisy of it. And is it wrong because he's on the right? That's what it is. But Mia, I'll let you go next as the next half black person on the line with me.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't see anything wrong with biracial couples, marriages, anything like that. I mean, the United States is a melting pot. The expectation would be that you would broaden your horizons and seek your partners wherever you see fit. I will say that Jay is right. I mean, the reason that we're being a little bit more scrutinizing with her is because she is a black presenting female, like 100% facts. Like, we have to call a spade a spade. However, that's because we all grew up being taught that we have to be twice as good.
Yeah.
So the expectation is that we won't shine a negative light on the black community because we have to be twice as good, twice as fast, twice as smart in order to get even half of what our Caucasian counterparts have. So I feel like that's why we're so much harder on black women specifically, because they are the leaders in the community. So I think the expectation is when they are in positions of power, they will be a Michelle and not a Jasmine. Because, like, Michelle she's funny, she's well-spoken, she says what she means, but she has never once ever come across as ghetto. She's never swore. She isn't anything. I think the most relaxed I've seen her is she did a podcast recently where she was very relaxed, but obviously she's been not the first lady for quite a few years. And I mean, it's like the pot calling the kettle black, because the majority of Black Democrats are married to white partners. They're married to successful white partners. I mean, like her husband obviously is Black, but everybody else is.
She has a husband?
I believe so. Yes, I believe she has a
I
husband.
don't think she has a husband.
TikTok says she has a husband, and I kind of believe them because I've seen it so many times. I'm pretty sure.
So find it.
But yeah, they're all married to white men. Every single one of those strong Black female leaders in the Democratic Party are 100% married to white men. So it's just weird that she's going to single out Byron. And to be honest, there's very few Black conservative females. So Byron didn't have a lot of selection, as Black men who are traditional don't have a lot of selection.
Byron met his wife in college. He met her at Florida State University. And Florida State University is predominantly white. So in all fairness to Byron, that was his surroundings. Gray, what's your thoughts? I know you're a Democrat, and we about to have this race, Governor Byron Donalds, pretty soon. But should she have came so hard at him?
First off, I'm offended at the accent you used earlier. I should do a Jamaican accent and put some dreads on and say "Bumba Clot" and start smoking some marijuana. That's what I should do.
I think you should. Can we record it?
I think the part that we're missing is that, and I know like this is the most Black Republicans that I've hung out with, but it's not normal. So like people are gonna say, okay, if this person's a Black Republican, then they're aligning with racism. So like, of course, Black women that are Democrats, they can date outside of their race because they're aligning with what America's trying to do, the utopia of races and cultures. But if you're a Republican, to me, I would think that you would most likely be with a white woman. So I don't know why they would think that Byron Donalds would be with a Black chick. But the Jim Crow thing that he said was crazy. I mean, like,
yeah, we're gonna play it. We'll play it. Yeah, because he did say some crazy thing. And Gray and me, we went in, and at first I defended Byron, and then I'm like, wait a minute, he said that. Like, I couldn't defend it. I'm sorry, but yeah, what's your question?
Never defend till you get all the facts.
It was crazy what he said, bro. I can't defend that.
Skeptic, is your turn.
Skeptic, what's your thoughts?
So yeah, I was gonna mention what Byron Donald had said, and I also wanted to mention from where I think that he gathered this information, because I hear a lot of people quote. It is called wrote down the Monahan report, and this report was released in 1960s, and in the 1960s they did a study of the Black family, and this is where they released statistics. But it's important to note, though, that Black marriage was not legal in America until the 1866. And so this was only 90 something years after Black marriage was even legalized in America. And so when you talk about case studies, when we do, when we are looking at research, we tend to neutralize the two parties that we're trying to compare. So to compare the percentage of Black marriages in America 94 years after it even became legal, it's called the Act of Congress of July 25th of 1866, where the American government actually said that anybody, regardless of their color, is legal, legitimate. They have a legitimate union under our government. And so we have to also address racism in America in order to start talking about the Black family, because racism played a big role after slavery was abolished. Also, I think that he correlated two things that I don't think are, there's a saying that says correlation does not equal causation, right? So when we talk about Jim Crow and we say that the Black family was stronger then, I don't know if he's trying to correlate whether the disenfranchisement of the Black community equals higher percentages of marriages. I was confused by what exactly was his conclusion of this.
His correlation is the fact that when they started having Section 8 and things like that come into the homes, Black fathers were taken from the homes. That's the correlation, that the standard that I'm 90% sure he's comparing it to. And that's why he's saying around 1960s, that's what was going on at that point, was the handouts that were given by the government controlling your households.
Again, when we and I see what you're saying. So when we look back at the case study that he's looking at that was released, and I want to say it was the 1960s. At that point where we're looking at that particular study, number one, we have to take into consideration the mentality of the person that is doing the research, and also how long
True.
that community has been allowed to marry, and the issues that they have been brought through. Like if we take the Black men and how they were treated during slavery, they were treated as if whoever had the best genes, we are going to impregnate the majority of women with those genes. And so you create this sense of you don't have two neutral parties that you're comparing. We're not comparing apples and apples, is what I'm saying. And another thing that I was like, okay, let's concede the fact that, okay, fine, the under Jim Crow, the Black family was more together. Are we then going to say that we need to take away civil liberties in the Black community to then raise marriage percentages? Because when we look at marriage percentages in all demographics, we see a decrease in marriage, period. So
True.
there's a bunch of different things that I was like, when I heard Byron say what he said, I was in shock. I hear a lot of, I'm Mexican, I'm first generation American. And so I hear a lot of people say things that I'm like, I don't think that you understand the whole facts of what you're talking about. And then the validity of a certain research, especially back in the days when we're talking 1960s, 1950s, you have to take into account the type of structure that America had at that time. And I'm not saying that that study isn't valid, but I'm just saying, looking at the whole, understanding of the Black community in that time, you can then make a conclusion that we are comparing a 94-year-old law that has now even said that Black marriage is legal to then the percentages of, mother and father in the Black community. And then again, I go into my whole cycle about it, but I will say something. I'm in an interracial relationship, and I will say, for what Jasmine Crockett was saying, we have two different cultures that have come together. I am Latin, and my community expects my husband to learn Spanish, to know about my history, for my children to know about, the background of my ancestors. And I think that the same should be said for somebody who is in any culture. My daughter has to learn about the Black community because she will have to know the statistics of her safety when she is with her cousins who are darker skinned than her. It is just a reality that we live in America, and the Black community is not treated fairly. 2.5% of Black Americans are unalived by police officers. So I kind of see what she was talking about when she was saying, like, he's not taking all stats into consideration. And sometimes you can become part of a different culture and forget the reality that, America isn't equal to this culture compared to this culture, or this demographic of people. Like we were saying, towards Black women, we judge Black women in a certain way when Black women are the most educated demographic in America. But we were sitting there waiting to say, oh, they're aggressive. Oh, she is aggressive because she's a Black woman. So I digress on my point, but yeah.
Skeptic, you were really passionate about this.
I am.
Yeah, Skeptic. I wish I could have had you on a few other calls where I had to defend that position. But anyways.
Hold on. Is she married, Enzo? Enzo's supposed to know she was married. Is she married?
Who married?
Oh, yeah, no, she is. I looked it up. She
is married
to Marcus Crockett.
Is it a Black guy?
Yeah.
His name's Marcus.
Yeah.
So that is racist. I'm offended. This is the party of the left's tolerance right here. That was really racist. You can't assume that.
My brother's name is Marcus. He's Black too.
There's a difference between that and a logical deduction.
That's racist. But I'll say this though.
If it was Alejandro, would I have been racist?
This is going to sound harsh, and I'm sorry who I defend, but I have a feeling a lot of Black women will agree. Back in the day, Black men stayed with Black women before interracial marriage was legal. And I'm sorry, I think that contributes to the degeneration of the Black family. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that's a factor too you have to take into consideration. And and I'll leave it there. Enzo, what's your thoughts?
Only thing I can really say into it is the professionalism. Like Jay said, all that really went out the window, I would say, in 2016 with Trump. Even though some of his comments are funny sometimes, it's not needed at all. So I would like better professionalism from everybody. Like her comment about Governor Abbott calling him Hot Wheels. I thought that was pretty all right,
that was classless.
Funny.
It was classless.
It was funny, but it was insensitive.
It was funny,
completely.
but it was classless.
And the fact, like, how Nora came up here and with the accent and everything like that, talking like
Yeah,
she's
see,
from the
I would
ghetto
never
and
black
everything
accent.
like that. We're talking about the same woman who got gifted a boat for her 18th birthday. What struggle did you come from?
So I grew up in the hood, so I can use that accent. I mean, I'm not saying I can, but come on now. Like, I have more entitlement to that than her at this point. Like, she's a fraud. She's a phony.
Hey, if
She's a
Drake can't, you
faker.
can't. Okay.
Yeah.
She's a fraud.
No, it's
But in all fairness,
I'm
I do want to
Jamaican
say,
American.
you know, Trump started the whole name calling thing when he was calling, like,
absolutely.
you know, Ted Cruz the liar or whatever. And then, you know, he called Pocahontas, the lady that said that she had Native American or indigenous blood
Okay,
in her.
she is
So
Pocahontas.
I do think
I'd
that.
call her Pocahontas.
Wait, I thought that was against Nancy Pelosi. Though.
But I'm saying, like,
No,
he
it
moved
was
that forward.
No.
He moved
It
that
was
forward
Warren.
for it to be okay to name call,
Oh no,
you know,
absolutely. I call
politicians.
that out. I'm calling that out 100%. He shouldn't be doing it either, and I'm very critical about him doing it.
He did call it
Even
out
though it's funny,
immediately.
I'm still going to call it out.
I don't agree. I feel like there's a long history of political name calling. It's been going on since the 1800s. I can give examples, but I don't feel like pulling it up. They've been slinging dirt. Trump takes it to another level. I will give y'all that. But people been slinging dirt. They've been doing it since the 1800s. I mean, he just does it to women, and that's a new thing. But men versus men, been slinging dirt. But we're in the 21st century. Women can do what men do, so they can take this heat like men do. Sorry.
I mean, so do we feel like the reason that Jasmine, why a lot of people find her negative is because there's a lack of authenticity with her, because we know she grew up rich. We know she went to private school. We know she didn't come from a hard life. We know the Black Sun isn't quite, I mean, that's not where she grew up. She grew up in a very good zip code. She grew up with two loving pastor parents. I mean, she literally went to an all-girls private school. So do we feel that the reason that the internet is like going so hard is because there is very clearly a lack of authenticity? You can't present yourself to be somebody from struggle, but yet your parents have made six figures. You've been driving a name brand car. I mean, you don't have student loans. You don't have anything.
So is she getting that judgment because
of her
she's
accent?
Black? Because Trump life sounds exactly the same.
And
Trump
people
sounds like
drag him all the time. So
Trump
I mean,
sounds like
I
he's
guess
from New York.
He don't talk in no country accent or no
He has a
poor
New York
accent.
accent.
He sounds like a rich New Yorker. Yeah, but he sounds like who he is. He don't act like he's always wearing a suit. He not trying to be a man of the people in the sense
same
of
suit.
dressing down.
It might be the same suit, Jay. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, possibly the same diaper too. But yeah, nonetheless. I mean,
like
I
the
can
last
say it,
rap
but
battle in 8 Mile when Eminem called out what's his name?
Papa Doc.
Fuck is it? Papa Doc. Yeah, you guys. This guy's a gangster.
I know
His real name's
something
Clarence.
about you. You went to Cranbrook. That's a private school.
Exactly. That's what I keep thinking every time I think of her. Every time.
oh Lord. Well, let me play the clip that y'all keep talking about Byron Donalds and the Jim Crow, and then I'll let Skeptic respond first because I know she did research on it.
To the other thing. Look, I know I said the words Jim Crow, and if you listen to the media, they would say that I wanted it to come back like you would say Beetlejuice if you said Beetlejuice 3 times. And I'm not saying it to be funny. I'm saying it because that's literally what happened. In that meeting in Philadelphia, what happened was we were talking about Black families. If you look at the empirical data, before Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, Black marriage rates were significantly higher. Did I reference Jim Crow? Yeah, because that was the era of time. Do I want it to come back? No, I don't. And I think the most, and brother, I want to say this. Hold on, because it's important. Because again, if you want a talking point, that's one thing. If you want a detailed answer, that's another. In our politics, the most disgusting thing that happens, and it happens all across the board, is that people will say something and your words get shifted to saying things that is not what you were talking about. That is not what I was talking about. I can't control what editors at the news media do. Because I will tell you, the article that was written by the Philadelphia Inquirer and by Politico who were in that room, if you read the articles actually put in context exactly what I said. But what the editorial board saw, the editors said, no, we're going to change that headline. Nobody wants Jim Crow to return. I don't don't want Jim Crow to return.
Say it again. Say it again.
You want me to repeat myself?
Repeat that again.
Nobody wants Jim Crow to return. I don't want Jim Crow to
ridiculous.
But we were talking about black families, and I was referencing an era. And that I was talking about black families, 100%. That era.
Better people. Last question, and then I'm going to let you go. Last question. We're out of time, but I'm going to give you one more question. During Jim Crow, could your family have existed? You are in an interracial marriage. Your wife is a white conservative activist. Could your family have existed at all during Jim Crow? No, it could not, Joy. We all know that, but that's why I am blessed to live in America
Look at Jay's
today as
face.
opposed to America during that time. But we cannot ignore the realities of not having fathers in homes. That is important for Black people today and all people today as we move forward for a better America.
We are out of time. What I'm grateful for is that we do not live in the Jim Crow era and that fathers do not face the threat of lynching.
I'm very grateful of that.
Perhaps don't bring up Jim Crow when you're trying to make that example. Representative Brian.
All right, skeptic.
Yeah. I mean, again, it just, I don't understand, like the correlation does not equal causation. It's just, which was my whole like summary, the synopsis of this that I took away was, what do you want to do? Are you trying to remove civil rights so that we can increase marriage percentages? Because I don't feel like that caused that. And I also want to say that we have a marriage problem. We have a commitment problem in America.
True.
And I don't necessarily think that it has to do with civil rights. We have a decrease in marriages in the white community, in the Hispanic community, in the Black community. So I feel like
But it's the worst in the Black community, skeptic. That's the argument. It is the worst in the Black community.
I just don't know that we can actually pinpoint the study that they're using to then say and make the fair comparison amongst two different, communities. Is the only thing that I like call into question. But I do believe that there are some things that America set a precedent to when it came to, number one, outlawing the marriage in the Black community. Like, we can start there. The fact that it was even outlawed. We can point to a lot of things, and I do think that the American system caused a lot of issues in the Black community, and I don't think that they ever right that wrong. So
True. Enzo, what's your thoughts? Why do you think we have a marriage problem in America?
Internet, to be completely honest. I think that's one of the biggest contributors to failing marriages. Just people just going behind their partner's back. No one holds marriage as it used to be. Everybody has commitment issues nowadays, and I don't really know even where to begin to fix that in any community. Not even just my own essay.
Gray, what's up? Why you think as a Black man, why are there less Black fathers in the home? Because that's what he was getting. That was the point of what he's saying. Do you think it's because of Jim Crow? Do you think it's because of current day? Like, what do you think?
First, Black guys do stay married a long time. It's Black women and Chinese men that are the least married, data-wise. But actually, the longest lasting couples that stay together are Black women and white men. So you can't base it on race. I was married for 10 years and I've been divorced 4, and I can't say it was as a pinpoint of anything like, okay, technology or, just life or just access for divorce may have been the cause, but I can't say that all happens because we don't know. We don't know what's going on in people's lives. We really don't know. Is marriage not valued as much? No. And like, just to reference these red pill guys, they feel like that marriage is a ripoff. It's a setup for them to get their money taken and for them to be ripped off. So we have that in the culture right now.
Hey, white people ain't getting married. Is it a Black thing, a Spanish thing, a white thing, American thing?
Well, my issue with like the study of pinpointing, the decline of the Black family to, welfare in Section 8 is you would have to apply it to every ethnic group. Hispanics got Section 8, white people got Section 8, marriage is down across the board for all those people. So you'd have to apply it to all of them. So you would have to say that those things broke up every family, which is why that never made sense to me. And when Kanye made the argument, I hated it. when Byron makes a comment, that argument, I hate it because it doesn't make any sense. You'd have to apply it across the board. I think what really contributes to the decline of marriage is one, it's not as black and white beneficial as it used to be. Before you get married, you had two incomes, you could buy a house. Almost guaranteed. It didn't matter what your job was, really. My dad bought 2 houses in the 80s. He worked at a hardware store. And I just think the clear-cut benefit to it is just not there anymore. And also, too, I think as we become more aware of things like mental health issues, and I just think that women are just being more protective of, you know, themselves and their bodies, and they're realizing that I don't have to have a child for you. I don't have to, you know, sacrifice my mental health just to be your wife anymore. And it's really, if you look at it, women who are really not wanting to get married, the stereotype is that women, oh, just I want a husband, I want a husband. And it's actually reverse. Studies show that marriage benefits men. Married men live longer, they're healthier, they have more money. So I just think that women are starting to have more choices now, and they're just not. Before, your choice was, you know, your dad took care of you, and then your husband took care of you. And I think that's what a decline that we haven't really paid attention to, is women have more choice now, and they're not just getting married for the simple fact that they have to anymore. And also, too, this is going to be like a side note, but I remember I took an anthropology class and we studied the history of monogamy, you know, among humans, and it is unnatural. So we are forcing ourselves into a situation that is unnatural. You know, and real quick, it just said that the reason monogamy exists is because of infanticide. Women would just tell every man that basically, I've only been with you, I only love you, so they wouldn't kill her offspring. And then men would do the opposite. Yeah. So, and then basically, yeah. And so basically men would do the same thing in reverse so they can breed with as many women as possible. Like, yeah, baby, you're the only one. So basically it was, for men, it's a quantity over quality type of thing. And for women, it's a quality over quality type thing. Because really, you know, we can get tons of women pregnant. You guys can only get pregnant by one person a year, essentially. So and the simple fact that it was a convergence of two opposite ideals that made monogamy happen is really kind of what makes it really unnatural.
So Jay, it's not religion. It's not religion that makes people want to be monogamous.
No, religion kind of, because every religion has a different view of monogamy. Like Muslims, you can have, and you know, Mormons, you can have several wives. So basically,
and even in Christianity, if you look at the Old Testament, Abraham had.
Well, because it was all written by men.
That's true.
You know, that's why if you look at everything benefits men essentially, and not only that, and if you look at religion too, everything benefits a certain group. Like if you look at the Old Testament, if you raped a woman, it just says give her dad 50 shillings and you're all good with God. You know, like it's designed to strictly benefit men. So you have to really take it with a grain of salt. You know,
I think it's interesting what you're saying. I've actually read a study that said that the men's genitalia is shaped a certain way because they would have to bring out all the other men, like if she had any deposits from other men.
Oh, yeah, just to pull it out? Yeah.
Yes.
Like
yeah. So yeah, monogamy is a fairly new, as far as civilization, human civilization is concerned.
Yeah,
studies say
it's a small percentage of our history.
Survival of the fittest, Darwinism. Mia, what do you think about this?
I mean, I feel like multiple things can be true at once when it concerns marriage rates declining, monogamy, all of those things. I mean, I think the reason that marriage rate is declining across the board for everybody is just our society is different now. There is no innate need to be married in order to leave your father's house or to further advance your aspirations. I mean, anybody can go to school, anybody can get a job, especially in this country. I mean, there's just societal wise, there's no real need for marriage anymore. And there's no stigma either to not being married or having children outside of wedlock or anything like that either. So, I mean, it kind of is what it is. I will say though, the quality of us, like men and women now compared to even 6 years ago is vastly different. I feel like quality wise, men had much more of a better quality 60 years ago than they do now.
When abuse rates were really high?
Huh?
When spousal abuse rates were really high?
I don't know. I can't attest to that. I wasn't alive 60 years ago. I mean, my grandfather was great to my grandmother. So, I mean,
Would
I can
alcoholism
only
rates through the roof?
attest. I mean, I can only attest to what I know and in my own family. And I come from a family of fantastic men. I mean, if some women aren't that fortunate, I'm sorry for them, but I can only attest to my family. And I come from a family of fantastic men.
That's great.
I mean, it is what it is.
Wow. I don't know how we move on from that, but speaking of fantastic men, we got some men that's been serving in the Congress a long time. A couple
Let's
women,
talk
but
about
mainly
this,
men.
please.
Yes. Who do you guys think is the longest serving congressman, or let's say
Grassley.
senator and congressman?
Is it Mitch?
Right.
You say Mitch. He says Grassley. Mia, what you say?
I think Mitch
Who you
McConnell.
say, Skeptic?
I would say Mitch too.
Enzo?
Kennedy.
Y'all, believe it or not, he's number 10. So this is scary, you guys. If we all said Mitch McConnell, and he's been in now for 40 years, the number one person is
Mitch longer?
Grassley. Gray, you researched it. Grassley has been in since 1975. He's the Republican senator from Iowa. Let's play this clip where we see the dinosaur. I mean, Senator Grassley talking to his constituents at town hall, and it got kind of nasty. It was recent.
This country, what the hell is going on with Mr. Musk and how he is apparently have his own agenda, in my view, to ruin the country.
Republican Senator Chuck Grassley fielded questions from a packed room of heated Iowans in the Franklin County Courthouse on Friday, urging him to, quote, stand up for what's right, quote, against Congress and President Donald Trump's administration. The town hall, which drew more than 100 Iowans, quickly reached the room's capacity. This comes after the National Republican Congressional Committee recently advised Republicans against holding public town halls, as speakers' anger over Trump's administration policies went viral.
Article 2 of the Constitution says that the executive power of the federal government is vested in the President of the United States. Truman wanted to make that.
We don't care about it.
Truman wanted to make that such a strong statement that he had a sign on his desk says the buck stops here.
How did this town hall go?
Well, it goes like all of my town meetings. I let them set the agenda, and they can bring up anything they wanted to. And we dealt with a lot of issues that are on people's minds. It's not only that it's expressed here, it's expressed in the massive amount of emails, postal mail, telephone calls I get every day.
Postal mail? Who sends postal mail, bro?
He's old.
I want to know who's sending him postal mail. Like, no, for real. I'm serious.
Old
bro doesn't
Iowans.
even know we're in 2025, huh?
Old Iowans, probably.
Well, if you notice, half the people in the town hall all had white hair too. I mean, it's a collective. I thought, COVID was so bad it wiped out all these people, but everywhere I look, they're everywhere.
Jeez,
Mia. I'm just saying, they had me scared. I was getting grandma sick. They're still alive and well, clearly, as we can see. They're all in Congress.
I'm sorry. There's still old people left now.
Well, there's still old people left in Congress. No, because I think there should be term limits. Enzo, what's your thoughts?
So I'm honestly, like you said about term limits, all in favor of term limits. There's no reason people should be in Congress for 40, 50 years. I think at max you should be able to get reelected twice, and it should be 6-year terms across the board. So 12 years altogether. Like, why do we have a cap on the president, but we don't have a cap on the president, cap on governors, but not for senators and congresspeople? Makes no sense to me.
Gray, should there be a cap? Chuck Schumer, your side, he's number 2 on the list for longest. Actually, number 4. He's been in 44 years now.
I definitely think there should be term limits, but I'll speak from personal experience. I'm as a career politician in my immediate family. So these people work for these positions for their entire lives, and they do these jobs. And also they once you go and you're in Congress, you get a pension. So like, even though that's just one thing I want to ask you guys. So like, even though they only do 4 or however many years, they get paid for the rest of their lives. So do you want them there working, getting paid, or do you want them like getting paid off the tax dollars of the American people?
Moving aside so people can do real change while they're instead of them drawing a check. That's my vote.
I feel you.
I think they should get paid after X amount of time. Like I said, you do 12 years, you should be able to get a pension after that. Because I mean, look at any other job, like any union job, you have to do X amount of time to get your pension. So that's absolutely should how it would follow. Not just you do one term and you get a pension for the rest of your life. No, not at all.
I think it should be term limits across the board. I think not only for congressmen and senators, but let's get some Supreme Court judges, some terms and some term limits. I feel like there should be no lifetime in government whatsoever.
Makes sense. Mia, what do you think?
I think they should not receive a pension. They should not receive benefits, and they should receive no money. This is a civil service. You should be doing this for the betterment of your community. You should not be doing this to get rich. You should not be doing this for anything else. They should get absolutely nothing because we need people who truly want to help people in there. Well, they should not be getting anything from us. Like state senators or, assemblymen traditionally don't get paid. They do get their mileage back from the state, but in my state, they don't get paid. So the people that are voting for state specific laws here do not get paid. They do not draw an income. And how are we going to get out the lobbyists, the special interests, the super PACs, if we don't actually remove the money entirely from the equation?
Well, that's how.
We can't get rid of that, though.
Because if you remove the pay altogether, it makes it exclusively for people that are already wealthy, and they're the only ones that will be able to afford to do this job. So I say keep the pay and the lobbying, because if you make it a no pay job, and it's a job that does require a lot. I forget who it was. They made a video. I want to say it was AOC about how much time she actually spends in Washington versus home. You cannot keep a job and do this job.
I was about to say that. Yeah, I know someone who was a senator and he retired himself. But I mean, yes. The amount of meetings that they have and have to drive, he literally had to have an apartment in the city where he had to go to meetings. And so, I mean, just you can't keep a job. Like, how would you pay your bills?
So you eliminate working class people by not having them paid, and you make it exclusively for millionaires. So I think keep the pay and end the lobbying, and then add term limits, and that's a good chunk of way how you remove the money from politics. Because these people have to get paid. Because other than that, like none of us would be able to do it if it didn't pay. Leave for 6 years at a time. None of us would be able to do it. We'd all be out. It would be exclusively for people that are already wealthy. So the pay would have to stay. It's just I say remove the lobbying, and just call it what it is: bribery. We love to change these terms and just call it what it is. Eliminate the bribery from politics.
Yeah, and I also wanted to say, like, not all senators are staying in there and just like waiting until they can like no longer walk to retire. There are some people that have served and then they realize, hey, this is a lot. You're having to run if you're a senator, you run every 6 years. So, I mean, if they've been running every 6 years and have been reelected, that means that the people in their district are voting for them and approve of the laws that they.
Yeah.
Well, I guess. Oh, shoot. I guess my only rebuttal to that is like statistics prove that 80% of incumbents almost always win unless there's like an outlying factor. But that's because that's where the money comes into play, because incumbents have all the money, they have the connections to make. So they, even if the town doesn't want them, I mean, it's tough. Especially when somebody has coffers of $100 million behind them with multiple super PACs plus connections of other well-known political players. It's difficult to get an incumbent unseated if they don't want to be unseated.
I just think it's so hard to remove money out of politics because, like, you have to have advertising, you have to have marketing, you have to get the name out there. It is some type of fashion. So, I mean, nothing's free. Everybody's getting paid from the intern to the top person. So I think they already kind of have a cap. It probably should be a cap on individual donations. But I know
Absolutely.
people still find a workaround around that. They do it in other people's names.
Yeah. Something we didn't talk about when it comes to people being this old. I personally think there should be an age limit. I'm gonna play this clip. This guy, Steny Hoyer, he's in Prince George's County, Maryland, and yeah, he has to go. Let's play clips about his health issues.
Pratt has been hospitalized. Minority Whip Steny Hoyer of Maryland was diagnosed with pneumonia.
He's being treated at George Washington University Hospital with antibiotics and rest. Hoyer's office says he's expected to make a quick and full
look at him
recovery.
sitting next to
Hoyer
Pelosi.
is 79 years old.
This is breaking news.
Two dinosaurs
For that
together.
breaking news tonight, we are learning Maryland Congressman
I want to
Steny
be clear;
Hoyer
these are two
is
different health
recovering from
issues.
a mild stroke. His deputy chief of staff says Hoyer suffered it Sunday night and that he is responding well to treatment and has no lingering symptoms. The 85-year-old is expected to resume normal schedule
85.
next week. The former House Majority Speaker has represented Maryland's 5th congressional district since 1981.
Jesus.
I mean, at what point do we say it's time to go? I mean, at what? I mean, if he runs again, guys, 2026, I believe, is the election. He will be 92, 93. At what point is enough enough?
Yeah, he absolutely needs to step down. I mean, especially once you having health problems, I feel like that's just too much because you're supposed to be working for the people. Once you have health issues, you probably should walk away being a civil servant. So yeah, this guy should definitely step down.
It's wild. I mean, these people literally are just, riding the car till the wheels fall off at this point in time. Like, and I said it in the group chat. I mean, it bothers me because it puts the political party that you're affiliated with in a really bad spot if you have to just retire like in the middle of your term and they have to have special elections or you are, deceased in the middle of your term. I mean, it's just very inconsiderate. But also I do notice that Washington, they don't foster the passing of the torch onto the younger people. We have all these elderly people that are holding on to all of this power and they refuse to bequeath it to other people. I remember when AOC first got elected, Nancy Pelosi used to block her from certain committees and whatnot. Like you'd think you would want to foster the next people to come up and to so you can pass it on so you can retire, and they don't.
No.
It's wild to me.
You're not in the club.
Right. And that, I feel like that's the biggest problem is we've allowed all of these politicians to have so much power to the point where they don't even care. They can all just retire tomorrow and them and their families are all set. It's the rest of us that are going to be feeling it. And it's going to be a power vacuum because the 10 that you listed are basically all going to retire probably within the next 3 years at this point in time because, I mean, the jig is up. So it's a power vacuum now between both parties. We have a two-party system and we're going to have a power vacuum because, McConnell's going to be leaving. I'm sure Grassley's going to be going out. I mean, Pelosi's going to have to retire. She's walking around with a cane at this point in time. Schumer. So what are these two political parties going to do when the power vacuum kicks? When we pop the cork and everybody's running full speed ahead for these prime positions? And then we're potentially going into a possible third world war as all of these things are simultaneously happening here. It's so crazy. And it's another reason why I hate boomers because only they would do something so nasty to us. They just the level of fucks they have to give for us as Americans is crazy. Is wild work to me.
Just work harder, remember?
Yeah. Buy these bootstraps, dude.
Yeah.
Enzo, what do you think?
So I'm just going to go down the road of everybody was critical about Biden at 82 years old. This guy's 85 years old. Why are we not holding senators accountable the same way we held the president accountable? Because in all honesty, senators probably have a little bit of more power than the president does, in the fact that you need the Senate and you need the House to get everything passed. So how do we know like I said about Biden, we knew his mind was gone. How do we know that these senators' minds aren't gone? Yes, because we don't see them as much on TV. They don't speak
That's why
as
we
much.
don't, because you don't see them.
That's it. But by the same logic, the right held Biden accountable at 82 years old. That should be a nationwide thing. Anybody in your 80s, you should not be in government whatsoever, because I know it's far in between people in their 80s. Some of them are sharp as a tack, and some of them are as they're gone. They're like babies at this point, wearing diapers. So that's the only thing I got to say about that. Get them in a fucking get them in a nursing home and just call it a day.
So, Enzo, I want to ask you this as one of the MAGA people on the line. There's been talk about Trump running a third term. Will you be supporting Trump if he runs a third term? Because I got into a heated debate with some of my other friends on this today.
So the other night when Dean came up on my stream, that's one thing that he asked me.
Dean.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was so surprised when I answered that. We answered that question. We're like, no, we're not going to support him on the simple fact I'm not going to make myself look like a hypocrite because I was critical about Biden himself. Also, the fact you're going to need an act of the executive branch, the legislative branch, as well as judicial branch, and then maybe an act of God after that for that to all come true. It's like you need the exact perfect storm. And if that did happen, no, I'm not supporting him whatsoever.
Either.
But it's such a pipe dream for that to happen.
Jay?
No, honestly, I just think that it's the career politicians that are just really the ones that make everything, prevent things from changing, because they benefit from a system that already exists and just so deep in place. And you will never have any kind of change if you have people that can run forever. And without term limits, you have the new politicians, even the new ones that get elected, that don't want anything to change because they want to be that. They want to keep getting elected till they die. They want to keep being those politicians that start the job with $100,000 net worth and end with a net worth of $40 million. And that's all of them. They get a job that pays six figures, but they all retire millionaires. And that's the motivation of getting into politics right now. It's the benefits. It's all the side money you're going to make. And I think if we, incited some term limits, it would really end that. Not end it, but it would contribute to it, because you wouldn't have these people making lifelong connections. You wouldn't have all these checks from Boeing. You wouldn't have all these checks from Lockheed Martin. That really just keep you in power, and in turn makes you become a puppet. Why did we vote to go to war with Iraq and Afghanistan? Was there any benefit? No. We knew bin Laden wasn't there, and we knew bin Laden wasn't in Afghanistan, but we said yes to the war because the people that are writing the checks said we need you to go to war, and they said absolutely no problem.
For sure. Skeptic, do you think there should be age limits on Congress people?
I do. I think that we don't just, age does have something to do with maturity. Like, we know that science says that our brains mature at age 25 or age 20, I want to say, no, 25. So I do think we should wait and not just allow 18-year-olds or 20-year-olds to be running for Congress. And I did want to add, as far as Chuck Schumer goes, I do believe that he's getting a lot of backlash because he got blamed for the Senate voting in the budget resolution. And I don't know if people understand the reasoning behind why he did that as far as Democrats go. And now I see a lot of people talking about Chuck Schumer and a lot of things springing up. And I don't know that people understand that if the Democrats wouldn't have approved the budget resolution through the Senate, we would have had a government shutdown. And from what I understood, a government shutdown gives limited congressional power to the sitting president, which was one of the things that I think Chuck Schumer was trying to address. Because now I hear a lot of talk about him, and I don't think that before this we were kind of questioning this, because at the end of the day, the district that they are running in is voting them in. If my district wants to continue to vote me until I'm 85 years old, I would think that the district is to blame for voting that person in,
For sure.
There's rumor that he's going to be primaried by AOC. That's what I'm hearing. I heard Nancy Pelosi, nonetheless, is the one pushing her to do that. Isn't that funny? Because she was blocking her years ago, Mia. But that's the rumor that I'm hearing, that they're trying to push her to primary him out.
I think he's definitely ruined his approval as far as the Democratic Party goes. So I could definitely see that. AOC is more outspoken, and she's like kind of a fresher face, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see that.
Bernie has her all over the country doing town halls and is fostering her as the front runner. So she will, I bet my left kidney, she's going to be a front runner to lead the Democratic Party for the next presidential election for sure. I mean, her and Bernie are drawing crowds of tens of thousands of people to see her. They are positioning her to pick up the torch. So I feel like she'll make that announcement. I mean, just from their town halls and everything that's happening, I think the power vacuum's happening, and Bernie's trying to position her to be the front runner winner against probably Gavin Newsom, because that's why he launched his podcast. So he could position himself as a moderate. That's why he brought on Charlie Kirk and was agreeing. I mean, I kind of slightly feel a little bit bad for Democrats, because right now there is that power vacuum where there is no clear leader of the party right now. So I suppose it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Oh, well, let's do some closing thoughts. We'll all wrap up. Ladies first. Mia, what's your closing thoughts?
I mean, it is what it is. I still think Luigi's not guilty, and I don't think he deserves a death penalty. That's my closing thoughts.
Great.
That was simple. Skeptic, what's your closing thoughts?
I think we have to uphold the Constitution. If there's one thing that we should fight for, is for our constitutional rights not to be trampled upon, regardless of who's in office. I don't think it matters what political group they're in. And I also think that we have to educate ourselves on American history and what America has done as far as our history goes.
Jay, what's your closing thoughts?
I think that we absolutely need term limits for politicians. I think that we need to end just this, what is essentially just a free ride of money and power that we've been giving to career politicians that ultimately not only don't help us, but are against helping us, because they don't want anything to change, because the system benefits them so much and it benefits their donors so much. So I think we absolutely need term limits. I'd even be willing to look up age limits if we can find a non-ageist way to do it. And yeah, that's my closing thoughts.
Enzo, what's your closing thoughts?
Where do I begin? Free Luigi. Term limits, yes. Absolutely. Get the old people out of, put them in the nursing home, get them out of Congress. And yeah, Trump's not running for a third term, guys. Let's just be honest. That's all I gotta say.
I don't know. Someone told me they'll vote for him if he gets rid of taxes. And they were MAGA. They were pretty serious. They looked me in my face and said it today.
They need to get their head scanned. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Gray, what's your closing thoughts?
Thank you to everybody in the chat, everybody in the audience. We go live Monday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday, Thursday's a new party. Monday, Wednesday's the man cave. Just keep researching, like people said. Like, we do need term limits, and I feel like Trump has made more people into politics, so people should subscribe to the new party and get more political. That's my closing thoughts.
Oh, man. All right. So my closing thoughts is this. America, wake up. They care more about billionaires than they do us. 20-something brown people were unalived in a Walmart. And we think it's okay because, I'm sorry, the family doesn't want to go through the trial. And I'm sorry about that. But I've seen times where the family didn't want to persecute and the federal government still went after the people. So that's BS excuse. We need to hold people that do mass shootings accountable. I think we should look at reform. I'm sorry if you're against the death penalty, we can agree to disagree. But if you sit there and you take up that gun and you go and unalive my family and the next family because you're sick or whatever is going on with you, I don't care. That point, that's your business. We need mental health to be fixed in this country. And that's number 2. In addition, we do need mental health to be fixed, because if anyone thinks that Donald Trump is going to win a 3rd term, you need to fix your head, like Enzo said. If you think you should vote for someone to be a dictator, we are America. I love Donald Trump, but I don't want Putin. I don't want Xi Jinping. I don't want none of that. I don't want communism in our country. So if you support Trump for a 3rd term, you guys are freaking hypocrites. You call out the left. You say they're socialists, they're communists. Well, you're supporting communism and socialism by putting it in his head that he can run a 3rd term. And that's my closing thoughts. I'm gonna land there. I'm sorry, MAGA. Don't hate me.
That was good.
Mic drop.
What'd you say, Jim?
What does the 3rd term have to do with socialism?
Well, anybody that sits there and lives in power, they are dictators. They are communism. Like, well, not necessarily. There's different kinds of socialism, to be clear. But the reason is MAGA attacks you guys. They say the left supports socialism. The left supports communism. So why would you support that? Why would you want to be why would you want a dictator? That's all that's connected to communism, socialism. Most people who are dictators are connected to that, unfortunately. That's the point. But I'm not against I'm not against elements of socialism. Let me be clear. But I don't want a socialistic government, me personally. But I like elements of it. Like, so, the medicine, we can get into that, healthcare.
Like the fire department?
Anyway. Yes, elements of it. And I know, and I'm aware of that, and I defend that.
I agree.
I'm for universal healthcare. But anyways, I know Gray's looking at me like, shut up. Everybody watching, please hit the like button. Thank you for watching. Come back Thursday night. Our topic will be about MS-13 and Tren de Agua. Who are they? What are they? Are we really deporting these people? Are we really deporting Tren de Agua and MS-13, or are we deporting innocent people? So we're going to talk about that Thursday night, because that conversation needs to be had.
Like we always say on a new party, always vote.
Always vote.
Always vote. Good night, guys.
Always vote.
Always
Good
vote.
night.
Introducing the new party. We live stream Monday through Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.